Greetings, Fright fans, and welcome to day 28 of our Edgar Allan Poedown, our countdown of films based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. We're up to 28. We've done 27 of these so far. Can you believe that Halloween is almost here? I tell you, it seems to go faster every year, doesn't it? Well, let's go ahead and see what we're going to talk about tonight. Last night we looked at The Tomb of Ligeia, the Roger Corman film starring Vincent Price. Tonight, we're going to talk about a really wild and fun movie that I think you guys will really like called Maniac. And no, I'm not talking about the 1980s film. The story follows a mad scientist named Dr. Schultz, played by Horace B. Carpenter, who is working on a formula to reanimate the dead. He has an assistant named Don Maxwell, played by Bill Woods, who is wanted by the police and being blackmailed into helping the doctor. Forced to retrieve bodies from the local morgue, Schultz has managed to keep a heart beating outside the human body for weeks and needs a body to place it into. When Don is unable to supply him with a fresh corpse, he gives him a gun and commands him to commit suicide. Don instead turns the gun on his boss. At this point, Don begins to make his quick descent into madness. He decides to put on a disguise and impersonate the doctor. He then hides the doc's body in an empty alcove in the basement and walls it up with bricks. But, unbeknownst to him, the doc's cat, appropriately named Satan, has slipped inside with its master. One of the wilder movies on this list, this one was made way back in 1934 by exploitation filmmaker Dwayne Esper. It not only draws heavily from Poe's The Black Cat, it also references the Rue Morgue. Pretty shocking for its day, 1934. The film includes nudity, a rape scene, and a cat has its eyeball popped out of its head and then eaten. There are text sequences placed throughout the movie warning the viewer of the real-life dangers of mental illness, making this one part movie, part educational film. Among the wackier elements in a completely bonkers film is a nearby neighbor who has a cat farm with hundreds of cats he raises for fur. There is imagery of the devil tempting our man Don whenever he's about to go over the deep end, superimposed over him like a little devil on his shoulder, spurring him on to evil. This is imagery lifted from an earlier silent film called Makist in Hell from 1925. This film is way bonkers, and I love that something this nutso was made back in 1934. The script was written by director Dwayne Esper's wife, Hildegard Stady. Esper was an exploitation filmmaker, a sleaze producer who operated outside the production code and screening his films in a sort of cinematic sideshow, touring the exploitation circuit with films like this, Narcotic, Sinister Harvest, and How to Undress in Front of Your Husband. It's under an hour long and can be found right here on YouTube. Highly recommended. This movie is completely wild. I love that something like this was made back then. You know, it's not exactly pre-code, but he was working around the code, and the code being the Film Association's new code to stop stuff just like this, because its alternate title was Sex Maniac. This is a wild movie with stuff like there's an early sexual assault in it, an eyeball getting popped out of the cat and eaten, you know, all of that. It's just wild to think about something made this early that had that kind of stuff in it. You can definitely check this one out right here on YouTube. Highly recommend it. I'm going to give it, let's say, 3 ravens out of 5. Solid film, worth checking out. Maniac, aka Sex Maniac, although I like Maniac better. Mad science. It's got a mad scientist in it. If it's got a mad scientist in it, I'm on board, right? That's right. And if there's some eyeball eating, that's good stuff.